Hi, I'm Brittany and I'm doing the video one for the early childhood capstone practice. One thing I learned about the children, families, classroom, and teachers and myself during this time is one thing I learned about the children is they're very active. And I mean, I probably knew this going in, but they like having a new face in the classroom is very, very entertaining for them. So, one thing that I really liked learning about myself and the teacher was I was like very like honed into um like cater to like certain kids, and then one thing I love about Miss Teju and I learned about her is like she was very like knows her kids, where she was um like she would be like don't give attention to that, like if like a kid is like pining over me. And also then when there was like during our stations time where she would be like, oh, you should sit with this kid and help this kid, because there was like a lot of kids that would help one-on-one in those circles times, or I mean in those station times. So I learned a lot more about the kids and Miss Teju in that sense. And then the classroom, of course, when she's like, oh, can you go grab that and like cut this out or do this, or quick things. I learned where all the things are. And then the family is just still, like I said, like a quick hi every day I was there. I think really went a long way, because even as I was walking in, I think this was maybe at the end of the second week, I was walking in and one of the kids, Terrell, was like, hi, Miss Brittany. And I turned around, I stopped and waited for his family. I was like, hi, I'm Brittany. And I just explained myself. So also letting the kids acknowledge me so I can also make that connection with their parents, I think was really helpful. And then especially asking the parents for permission, because the director or manager, who I needed to ask about the videoing was like, I want you to ask them all personally. She told me the two that absolutely cannot be on video. And then she was like, everyone else, like, just like mention it. But of course I don't get to like catch all the parents. So the few that I did, that made like a better connection too. Oh, and then I also stole the idea from one of our classmates where I printed out, a paper of like what I'm doing here and who I am and a little bit of my history and stuff like that. So that's how I connected with the families as well. Specific interests that I discovered in the children were it kind of differentiated on the spots we were in. Since I am kind of like an extra help in the classroom, I really realized that these kids love to be read to, which I think I'm gonna capitalize on, because I can see like in a preschool classroom how that gets overlooked or is just kind of like out, like maybe like it's hard to fit into the day. But any free time, kids are always grabbing a book and saying, can you read this to me? Grabbing a book, can you read this to me? The two videos that I have are, one was a book that the teacher picked, Miss Teju, and was like, I really want this book read, and this is a time that is like great for you to do it, because that's when I'm like kind of like reading kids' books anyways. She's like, I want this book read to the class. And then the other one was like one where I was just like, okay, everyone sit down, I want to read you a book. And I just let a kid pick it. So I kind of see how they are more interested in being read to, which is like another good part of learning to read and all that. So all of them have that interest. And then another interest I found was one specific kid. This is what I did my lesson plan on, because he was kind of the first kid I really connected with, and connected with his family, and whatever, was he's a Canes fan. And one day I wore not a Canes jersey, but I wore a Montana t-shirt, and he just started talking about sports, to go on. Then he was I noticed at the mass station he struggled with numbers a lot, and maybe I don't need to do this here, but yeah, so then I just like capitalized that, and we took that further into another lesson. But I noticed that lesson because it was always constantly coming up, and then I was like, I like the Canes, and of course the Canes are doing really good right now, and so that was always something that he came in like right when he saw me, he's like, Did you watch the game last night? And it's probably going to be hard to see in part A video because I can only record a few people, but you'll definitely see me recording, me reading books to the class as a whole, and yeah, I think that's probably what you'll see in part A. And then when I hopefully get to talk to more parents, hopefully you'll see more because I can record more different kids. And why I believe that children would be interested and engaged. Well, they are engaged in different circle times, and based off part A, I know Roma, the girl that was recording with, is very, very loves like someone to help her with things. So I think that when I recorded her, or was sat with her the whole time, I should say, or, you know, most of the time, I think that she was like really interested in like doing it. I do think that she sometimes wants my help more so, and so maybe me sitting with her the whole time actually helped her do it on her own, because I didn't really help her with anything. She just already kind of did it. And so that kind of engaged her more, where, you know, I'm not doing it for you, but what would you see? What would you do? What would we do on this? What worked well was, what worked well was sitting by one child and going through the stations, because I do think that kind of showed the different, I think we only went to 2 stations, but that showed how they work, and they work independently. And also the reading the book, because I don't think they get a lot of class reading anymore. I think they try to fit that in, but right now I'm sure it's like a busy time with the graduation happening and having a mix of kids and all that. I know it's hard to fit in those little things, but I think that worked really well, was having me, I mean, I know it did, because the teacher was like, oh, well, while we're doing this, will you read this one book? And the teacher wanted to get this book in. So I think that really helps too. And then what would I do differently? I would, not going off the video, but like for my own lesson plan, I would either maybe pick a kid that I can video, so maybe I can show that part of it. Or I think like going outside of my time to communicate with the lead teacher to show like, okay, this is kind of what I want to do with this group. And yeah, because I'm thinking about like the physical domains, like tackling those will be hard without like a lot of like preparation, and like maybe planning out a time that I can do that during the day. I think that would probably be a little bit more difficult. So just better planning based on my activities that I want to do. I did the individual activity this time because I knew it was just easier for me to plan it for little I knew about all the kids and the teachers and all that. So I think like moving forward, definitely like pre-planning things and like planning out a time and thing, and like letting them know everything I want to do so they can help me plan it into their busy days. How are the families involved? Well, I did give this to this kid, Whitaker, that we did this activity with. We called it like a North Carolina sports card. Even though there was an Ohio player on it, he kept making me know that. But and I was like, oh, you can make this one at home. And then I gave him extra, so because he wanted to keep it. And I gave him extras, and I was like, let's staple them together, and like then you and your sister, because he has a sister, and you know his mom and dad are obviously Canes fan. I was like, you guys can make your own at home. So so that's how I involved the families. I wish I would have been able to see them in the morning or afternoon, but because because I don't even know if he took them home. I know he put them in his cubby, but I think that would have been like a really fun thing to connect to them with. And my next steps would definitely to build more connection with the families as much as I can. I mean, it's kind of awkward, obviously, as like, you know, as early as I am, they're kind of like, who's this random person? And then also to build lessons based on the group or individual or class activity I'm doing. I am starting to get to know each kid individually and their strengths and their weaknesses. So it's making me feel pretty prepared, as prepared as I can be, to do group lessons on things that maybe they could work on, and then group lessons on, you know, not, and then also the class things and what would cater to every kid class-wise. And then show examples of the children's work. And then I have pictures of the sports card. He wasn't one that I got to talk to the parents about be on camera, but I do have a picture of the sports card that we made. And thank you.